Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this edition of Leap Project. I'm your host, Rex Bear, and tonight's guest is Robert H. Evans Jr., the go-to guy on Planet X, aka Nibiru. Now, the cool thing about Robert is he spends countless hours researching the infamous winged destroyer and does it for free. If you'd like to see some of Bob's photos or send him pictures that you might have, his Facebook page is Robert H. Evans Jr. Now, another really cool thing that Bob has going for him is his website. This has been around for several years, and it's starshipsaroundthesun.com. Starshipsaroundthesun.com. Now, there's all sorts of photographs on there from SOHO satellites, and you can see what looks like these just giant spaceships and anomalies around the sun and other parts of the solar system. So, and Bob, I got to tell you, man, the first show that we did together several months ago, that is actually, if you type in Nibiru on Google, that comes up on the top of the second page in the natural selection there. I mean, it's already hit over 200,000 views, and you've certainly made an impact. Yeah, absolutely. Reached out, networked all over the world. You know, I mean, you've got people that are sending you photographs from Germany, from Mexico,
Slovakia, Russia.
The first one that I wanted to show our audience here is one that you sent me from 3/4/2016, so just earlier this month, and it's got the two red dots, red heavenly bodies here, it looks like, to the north or northeast of the sun. So could you describe this for us and tell us where you got it?
Okay. I got it from a friend from I believe it's she. She said West Germany, which doesn't exist anymore. It's just Germany. The image you're looking at shows our moon. It's at nighttime. It shows our moon just above the horizon, and there's a big red thing up in the sky above it. That big red thing is either a planet or a moon that orbits around the planet Nibiru. Nibiru orbits through our solar system between Jupiter and Mars. It's almost the size of Jupiter, if not larger than Jupiter. It has, I'm told, up to 11 moons orbiting it at different intervals. And 4 of these planets or moons have been seen in our skies since April 10th of 2015. This red one goes down through history being called in the Holy Bible as Wormwood. The ancient Egyptians knew it as the destroyer, and they described it very detailed during the Exodus, which was actually 1613 BC. Nailed it down. They found a olive tree at the base level of the ash fallout on the island of Santorini. They had it carbon-14 dated to 1613 BC. The Egyptian scribe named Ipuwer, his detailed account from the Egyptian point of view of the exodus of the Hebrews mentions volcanic ash falling all around Egypt, and also mentions a tremendous explosion in the air. That's the island, the ancient Greek island of Thera, which was erupting and then exploded. We now know it as Santorini. So the Hopi people here in the United States, they call this red thing the red Kachina. They said a blue Kachina would show up first, and the red Kachina would follow. I have caught multiple photographs from people sending them in of the blue Kachina early on in 2015. Now, my contacts say they have not spoken to the Star Brothers yet, because supposedly, according to the Hopi prophecy, the Star Brothers will come down and they will dance in the plaza for everyone to see, not just the Hopi, for everyone. And they will take off their mask, showing everyone who and what they are. That sounds like first contact to me.
Sounds like they live to me. Rowdy Piper puts on his sunglasses and he's like, "Oh my gosh, look, there they are."
Well, okay, a lot of the traditional drawings from the Hopi showing the kachinas in front of them. The Hopi were all sitting down, and the kachinas were standing in their midst. The kachinas must have been looking like they were 8-9 feet tall compared to a basic human. And they had masks on where they could not see what they looked like. And the masks would, almost like a roundish looking mask they put over their head, and they had a costume which covered their entire body. So the Hopi would never have known what the Star Brothers looked like if they showed themselves as that. A person with a huge mask on and robes and stuff. So the prophecy of the blue star Kachina clearly says once it shows up, the Star Brothers will come down and they will dance in the plaza for everyone to see. Hopi and white people.
So right now you're talking on a landline, is that correct?
Yes.
This is very odd.
The Skype has been acting up when I get on it, whether it's weather, whether it's my computer, whether it's my microphone, or the powers that be. I never know. I've had Skype problems when I've been on radio shows many times over the years.
Well, it's just interesting right now because you're talking to me on a landline, and it sounds to me like you're talking to me from another computer. I mean, that's why we're not doing this Skype on both ends, because we were having issues, and you said you were just right underneath a cell phone tower or a Wi-Fi tower.
Wi-Fi tower. Exactly. These things, the powers that be, the world government, they know this thing is showing up more and more around the planet. It's been seen in Japan. It's been seen in China, up in Russia, over in Slovakia, over in Switzerland, over Italy, over Germany. But you're not hearing a single thing about it on any of the news broadcasts.
So the second picture you sent, 3/4/2016, the one that looks like it's two suns.
The second one, again, clearly shows the moon as a bright thing next to the Earth and the red thing up in the sky. I do not know, honestly, whether it's a planet or whether it's a moon. But we're seeing them because the Earth is orbiting right towards them. The planet Nibiru orbits clockwise through our system. It comes in by Jupiter and Mars, goes under the sun, comes back up, and goes back out between Jupiter and Mars. The planet Earth orbits counterclockwise. So in our orbit around our sun, we're orbiting right towards these things. I do not know their orbital diameters. I do not know how big they are. I have no way of knowing. Only the powers that be know the size of these things, except for what's being shown in the skies. During the Exodus, 1613 BC, the destroyer from the horizon upwards took up to 1/5 of the skies over the earth. I sent you, and we talked about during one of the last shows, about this huge reddish-looking thing on the sky, on the horizon over Florence, Italy, January 8th.
Uh-huh.
And when my friend had the image reversed from white to everything that was white became black, this humongous thing was seen on the horizon in the image. If everyone could see that humongous thing, like a huge red sun, there would have been mass panic. No ifs, ands, or buts. A friend of mine, her name is Dawn Hull. She lives up in Washington State. She has a very expensive infrared camera, and she takes photographs every day. And she sees huge red things in the skies, looking through all the clouds of whether it's natural, whether it's chemtrails. Who knows anymore?
Ask her if she'd send those out for us.
I have copies of those, and I'll make sure I send to you, and I'll even give you her name and stuff. So she is seeing massive red things. See, on infrared, anything that's hot shows up as red. And her images show massive red things in her skies. So I don't want to scare anyone. All of your listeners, a great number of them are on Facebook, and they've all listened to this stuff, and it's just been a huge outcry. You've seen it on people listening to your show and watching the videos and stuff. I have an interstellar contact. She's a Palladian. I'm telling you this now, probably for the first time. I have undergone hypnosis 2 sessions. And hopefully, if you either like this other person or you can bleep his name in his show, it's entirely up to you. Eric Brown from the Cosmic Cafe. He's done several shows with me, or me with him. And he introduced me to this one lady, and she deals usually, hope I don't screw things up here, pushing on this nice, fancy smartphone. Okay, let me see. Let me find her name real quick. I'm getting used to this thing. Okay, her name is Lori McDonald. Lori McDonald, Louri MacDonald. She has dealt with many people who have been abducted over the years, and Eric Brown had me do a over 1 hour session for the first time, and she brought out, I actually saw this woman. She's been my contact for a while, and she's been pushing me to warn the people that this thing is coming. It will not be as bad as Noah's flood, but things will happen. She would not tell me what will happen, but she says to have everyone be prepared for it. And that's what I've been doing for several years now. She's a high-ranking Palladian. She's a 7B Palladian. I actually saw her. She was white-robed, blonde or whitish hair, blue eyes, but she keeps her distance from me. So she's probably about 15, 20 feet away from me. And she won't let me get any closer. That's under hypnosis. I've never been hypnotized before. And when I am hypnotized, I did a second session with her just recently for over 2 hours. Evidently, I was being blocked by this being because Eric was there, Lori, and a third person. They were asking questions, and either I couldn't answer them or I was told none of their business. It's quite interesting when you undergo hypnosis.
Wanted to see if we could jump over for a moment too, when you get done with this, what you were saying, to the picture from 3/6/2016.
Okay, that's clearly, and I'll enlarge it on my side since it won't have any problems on your side. Okay, interesting picture. You have our sun.
Yep.
And you have this big, grayish, silverish disc.
Right
above it. The powers that be, on their own or with alien help, have been masking these moons that are being seen in our skies. That silverish-looking thing was last seen over Hawaii last year. That is one of the 4 planets or moons that we're seeing in our skies, have been seeing since April 2015. That one, even over Hawaii, it gave almost no detail, just as you're seeing right there. A lot of people are looking up in the sky and they're seeing, there's a bluish or a black circle that looks like it's being covered by clouds or something. Why can't we see that? We can clearly see our sun. It's being done deliberately. I don't know if it's beyond the alien side or whether it's the humans or whether we're both working together so that people do not panic. Because believe me, if the people had very clear skies, everyone would be running for the hills right now. Would have been doing it in 2015. No one wants the people to panic. I do not want people to panic. I want the people to be prepared for it, as my contact has been telling me over and over and over. So I understand it. Something's going to happen. Now, the only one of these four moons, there's a blue moon, there's a whitish-looking moon heavily cratered, there's this silver-looking moon or planet, and then there's the red one. The red one goes down to ancient history as being Wormwood from the Holy Bible, Destroyer, or the Red Kachina. Now, the Hopi says very clearly that if the Star Brothers do not find something to hold on to here, because humanity has gone way off track. We see it every day. We hear it every day. Shootings, bombings, this, that. Right down, half the time it's like, why do we even get out of our houses sometimes? I've actually stopped listening to the news. Here in the San Francisco Bay Area is one shooting or stabbing or something after another after another.
It's funny you bring that up, Bob, because I talked to a really nice gal earlier today, Diane Powell. She's wrote a book called The ESP Enigma, and she's been studying psychology for just over a decade. She's very good at her job, well versed in what she says, and she doesn't even have a TV in her house. And she brought up the news, and we were talking a little bit about MK Ultra. I interviewed somebody last night that was supposedly a part of like the second generation MK Ultra. So I don't know if he's telling me the truth or if he's making it all up, but he certainly had a very interesting story. And she brought up the news, how it's pretty much just kind of designed to shock people and freak people out, and the whole media. Even with these things in the sky right now, people aren't dying because of it. The world hasn't came to an end. The poles haven't shifted. We're not all underground right now. So I'm really it's getting kind of irritating with all these ridiculous trolls out there that are posting these comments. Quit saying the world's going to end and everybody's going to die. And I didn't know you ever said that, Bob. I didn't know the people that I've talked to before in discussing Nibiru said that. These are just possibilities and theories. I've actually had people say that I should die just for posting this stuff on YouTube. Matter of fact, I got a screenshot of somebody that said, if I believe in it or not, I should probably die because I'm posting this on YouTube. And you know me, Bob. I'm neutral on the subject.
Exactly. And there's another thing. I don't know if anyone else has mentioned it to you. There's a thing called the human wave. Our planet gives off the human wave. It's in the low megahertz. Normally, it is about 7 or 7.5 megahertz, like a low rumble or something. It's now up in the 15 megahertz. The human wave affects all living beings. That might be part of why the violence has been increasing for a while, because it's been slowly rising. What's causing it, I do not know. I'm not an expert. I just know it's up in the 15 range right now. See, the Hopi also says that before the end of the third Hopi world right now, there'll be a nuclear something. There'll be a gourd of ashes. The volcanic activity is increasing. Something is affecting it, our planet. We just recently had a huge eruption down in Mexico. We had another eruption up in Alaska. One volcano after another are either rumbling or they've erupted. Anyone who knows anything about volcanoes knows they put a lot of this sulfurous type up into the atmosphere. That affects our weather. A very big volcano pushed it super high into the atmosphere, which affects the weather all the way around the planet. Toba, the island of Toba down in the other side of the planet, it supposedly exploded about 74,000 years ago with a super eruption. It almost wiped out the human race. We went through a bottleneck type thing where only a few survived, and everyone went after that. The Yellowstone volcano is making a lot of rumbles. Certain parts of the Yellowstone, they closed down because it's too hot for anyone to be there. During the Exodus, that volcano over in the Greek island of Thera, now called Santorini, exploded and blew itself apart. Almost wiped out all of the Minoans. And that caused a tremendous, huge tidal wave to head in different directions. Earthquake activity is slowly increasing. The USGS downgrades the factor level here in the United States. If it's an 8, they'll say it was 7.6. No one else does that but us. These things are getting larger and larger and larger in our skies. My contact tells me they'll be somewhat very clear in our skies around June of this year. So I'm just giving a warning.
Let me jump in here real quick, if I may, Bob. I'm looking now at the one from the 19th, and it's 319.16F. On the bottom left, I would say approximately the 5 o'clock position there. You're going to see this. Yep, the large red heavenly body there, it seems to be, unless it's just a perfectly put smudge of some sort. It's or some, Photoshop or whatever. What's that?
No, those photographs were sent from Australia.
Like a telescope or something?
No, most of them were filmed directly with a camera. They're also being taken from an observatory. An observatory looks up into the sky. I think I might have sent you this one, 319.216I or H, where you see a big circle, and you see the sun, and you see this huge red thing off to one side, and around this circle, I might not.
I'm on I right now. No, we're back here on I. Okay, I'm at the. Yep.
Okay, I. Now on that circle it says north, south, east, west. That's from an observatory down in Australia. Which observatory, the person did not tell me, because every time I said this is on this camera, from this, the camera is shut down or it's moved. So everyone wants to keep watching this stuff, but they don't want the cameras to be shut down or moved slightly where it doesn't show the sky again. I've gone through this many times where people were beautiful photographs. Suddenly the camera's not working anymore. Means someone's following everything that's on Facebook or on a radio show. Turn that one off. Quick. So yes, that's from an observatory. It clearly shows our sun off to the left, and there's that big red thing, which more and more people around the planet have been seeing over and over and over again.
Yeah. So, okay, and then so if we go back to the other one, to the F, 2016 F, 319, then this one, it's, I guess, zoomed in a little bit more. Maybe that's the same.
It's probably an enlargement.
No,
it was probably okay.
But
well,
regardless,
the big white thing to the left is the sun. The big red thing to the right, that's what we call wormwood.
Okay.
The Holy Bible goes into great detail about wormwood with the trumpets. John's. You've got the trumpets. You've got the when the trumpet blows, this will happen. When the trumpet blows again, this will happen. And he very clearly says a huge mountain of rock will come out of the sky, and they call it wormwood, and it hits the oceans. And then another trumpet, like number 6, number 7, number 8, whatever. I don't have it in front of me right now. Another trumpet says something more will happen. See, a lot of these things, they probably were written down because either God told them directly or because they were told by someone they thought was God, and that other thing told them a warning. Write this down right now. But I like to think that God told the alien to tell them. So it's all under one big plan, with God being the big one. And he or she tells this alien to do this, does that, has these things go through every time because people aren't being nice to other people, and they better get their act together. So I don't want to insult anyone's religion, because you got Jewish, Muslim, Christians. You've got different faiths inside the Christians, different names.
Don't forget about the flying spaghetti monster religion.
Yeah, exactly. But these things are being picked up in our sky more and more and more now. And I've got the photographs, and I've been sending you the photographs. At first, I know you weren't sure about any of the photographs, and I don't blame you. I didn't blame you then. I don't blame you now. You look at this stuff, and is that real or is that photoshopped? Is it real or is it a false image from something else?
It's swamp gas, usually.
Exactly. Everyone watches all the yes. Everyone watches all the stuff I post on my Facebook, and believe me, if anyone found anything in there that was photoshopped, they'd slam it right back in my face.
And now I'm at the 3/21/16 image where there's like this bluish. Is that the blue Kachina right there?
Yes.
The blue
That's blue Kachina. And the white thing to the right or below it is our sun. Now, why do we have a blue Kachina and not red? Because your photos are shown red, but we see sometimes the blue one. Some of my friends have said, Bob, that's because it's on rushing towards us like a siren from a fire truck. You have the blue shift and you have the red shift. Again, I am not an expert at this. Either this is a totally different thing that's blue, or it's because of the blue shift, red shift. Fire engine is going away from you, you hear a different sound, you see a different color, it's racing towards you, it's a whole different thing. Then again, maybe the aliens on this one planet or moon are doing it deliberately where you're only seeing one color when they want you to see the one color. And maybe they're making the red color show up only when they want the red color to be there. I don't know. I wish I did. This stuff is as confusing to me, but I have the ancient tales and other things to rely on. And no one else has mentioned a blue except for the Hopi.
So now,
but there it is.
Yeah. And so now I'm going to go over to the 3/23/2016. So this is just a few days ago. And you sent me this one. Here's another one. It looks like something's hiding out in the background there. Little heavenly body. Swamp gas, I mean.
Exactly. The person that took this photograph was with their own camera, and it was relatively clear sky except for the whatever that was around that one huge round image. And there was no disguising it.
It almost looks too round, though. Doesn't it? I mean,
does.
Look at how circular that is. It almost looks like maybe that was... I don't know. Could that possibly be lens flare from the sun? Because if you look at the angle of it, where it's located, and how perfect it is, and then you see that there's an inner circle there, and then it almost looks like it's hollow, and there's just that circle there. I don't know. That one might be. Well, they all might be, but that one I'm not as convinced in some of the others. Are you?
I have numerous recent images that look just like that, where something was trying to hide it. Either we're doing it or they're doing it. Just like that silver-looking moon in the other image. Yeah. We don't have a silver-looking moon.
Right. Okay? That one just wasn't as circular, and it didn't seem like it was hollow.
To me, it looked very circular, but it was being hidden either from a fading cloaking device or because the chemtrails are really heavy across the face of it, so it looked like, kind of like looking through the bottom of a Coke bottle and you're seeing something, but you can't see it very clearly, but you were able to photograph it. Okay? That's what a lot of people have been telling me on Facebook. And I've got the photographs to clearly show it, that there's something there. Every once in a while, someone sends me photographs, and then they have the next photograph as a reversed image. And here's the same thing that other people would, maybe that's a fake, maybe it isn't, I don't know. All I can do is I can tell you what's being seen in our skies. And if these things were very clear in our skies, we'd have a lot of problems right now.
It certainly would make people max out their credit cards, wouldn't it? We ain't paying this thing back. Forget you.
And that's exactly what would happen, yes. Because they fear that the Earth's going to come to an end, or they don't know what's going to happen. I won't pay this. The entire economy would go boom, like a lead weight. But they know this thing is coming. So they're getting ready for it. The powers that be. That's why they built the deep underground military bases all around the planet. That's why they built the emergency seed vaults, because of the fire from the sky in the Holy Bible and from the Egyptian scribe named Ippawar detailed exactly the same thing. It burned everything that grew. Fields, orchards, vines. Then the geological crust of the earth shifted just enough where all the stars in the sky shifted to new positions. The sun and the moon had new positions where they rose and set, and the growing seasons were thrown completely out of whack. That's a geological, not a magnetic. It's a geological crust shift. And that has happened before Noah's flood, 2,900 BC, Noah's flood, about 12,900 something years ago, the Exodus, 3,600 something years ago. See, this doesn't cause the problem every time this thing comes through. It depends upon where the Earth is in its orbit. If it's near where it's coming through, we get the heck kicked out of ourselves. If we're on the other side, we maybe feel a little bit, or maybe just a little bit more than a little bit. Other times we don't have any that was there, and we don't see it because we cannot see the planet Nibiru swing through between Jupiter and Mars unless you're up there looking with a telescope just as it was going through. NASA made that mistake. They actually imaged it back in 2007, 2008. They took photographs of Nibiru itself in 2008. And people that worked at the telescopes deliberately leaked the information. Just like the big space probe that was an Israeli, Vatican, U.S. advanced space probe that was sent out to meet Nibiru in 1995. It went out to way out past Pluto, met up with the planet Nibiru, videotaped it, did whatever else, and came back in about less than a month. All the way out to well past Pluto. They downloaded everything to a secret Jesuit base on a HARP facility. Then the Vatican leaked it deliberately in early 2000 to an Italian reporter, Christopher Barbato. And I have his picture showing the planet Nibiru with Barbato's copyright name on it. We've known this thing's coming for a long time. Pope John Paul II. Don't listen to me. I could be some weirdo sitting on a corner. The world's going to an end. Pope John Paul II, 1980, talked about the third secret of Fatima. They would not release it because all the popes knew they didn't want the communists to start grabbing land or causing coups. But what if it was in writing? The world's oceans would cover most of the continents around the planet. And millions would die in minutes. Why talk about it? Pope John Paul II did a tremendous amount of work during his lifetime. He never repeated this warning again while he lived. It's on the internet, Pope John Paul II and the Third Secret of Fatima, and I have a copy of it.
Well, and I just went on to Google and I typed in list of astronomers' weird recent deaths. And
yes,
that's another thing that I find very odd. And I went to the past year. I'm on the past year right now, and people can see this on the screen. Look at all these headlines that's coming up, folks. 74 NASA scientists died in recent years. No natural causes on humansarefree.com. There's an article there.
The people that accidentally died or deliberately died and all this stuff was made very public that it was happening in the movie 2012. Anyone that's watched that, you saw that one guy from Cheers. He played the bartender.
Good old Woody, man.
Yeah. Yes. I think he was a congressman.
No, he was actually in 2012, he was the guy that was up in the trailer on the radio saying, the world's going to end, the world's going to end. You don't remember that?
And yes, and when the other character goes to his trailer, he pulls down those video screens with all the names of all the people who have died, keeping this secret. Robert Sutton Harrington, the doctor at the Naval Institute Press, he was brought in by NASA to do research on this stuff. And at some point between when he was brought in and when he suddenly died of a very rare form of cancer in 1993, he was going to go public. He was going to hold a news conference. And very suddenly, he dies of a very rare form of cancer that he told none of his friends about. The world governments know what's going to happen. In the movie 2012, they said there was a 23-degree crustal pole shift. That the new South Pole, because there was also a magnetic pole shift, was right in Wisconsin. That would put San Francisco up near the Arctic Circle. And that would shift a lot of these, Norway was outed by 60 Minutes many years ago for the Doomsday Seed Vaults up on the Svalbard Island. They were built with a fantastic power system. If the power went off, they would stay frozen for up to 25 years. Here in the United States, the largest emergency seed vault is up in Denver. Why do we have all these seed vaults all around the planet? Because Ipplewurst said very clearly that everything that grew was destroyed by the fire from the destroyer. I'm quite sure that when Eisenhower met with the Nordic ones at Holloman Air Force Base in 1955, they told him everything of what happened the last time it was here. And he had his flunkies go through all the ancient stuff. Have your friends, your listeners, do a Google search. Ipplewurst. I-P-U-W-E-R. They'll find a tremendous amount of articles. And each one of the articles says, even though this sounds like the 9 plagues of Egypt, it is not. Don't be confused by it. Well, it was. I'm sorry. There's no way around it. Ippelwer describes very clearly all the plagues happening. He describes the blackish smoke coming through. It was so thick they couldn't keep a torch or a campfire lit for almost 2 weeks. Hail, meteorites, whatever, coming down, destroyed the palace, killing the Pharaoh's firstborn. Very clearly in his detailed account. The Bible matches Ippelwer's account almost word for word. The slaves and evildoers that left during the Exodus. The slaves were the Kebrus. Kebews. Ippelwer describes them detailed. The evildoers were all of the Egyptians who latched on to them leaving and went with them. Why doesn't this stuff anywhere in any ancient history? Because the United States and Egypt and the Muslim religion, along with the Jewish religion and the Catholic religion, will not mention it. From the 12th Egyptian dynasty to the end of the 17th Egyptian dynasty. Are you still there?
I am, and while you're talking about this, I was just looking at the photograph of 32616, where you've got the red Wormwood top left corner, about, I guess, 10 o'clock approximately.
And that was seen in the skies over Mexico. That one camera there is a Mexican resort, and it's caught the red thing in their skies many times. From the 12th Egyptian dynasty to the end of the 17th Egyptian dynasty, you had the Hyksos being in charge of Upper Egypt, where the Nile Delta is. The Hyksos were kicked out of Egypt by Akhmos and his brother. The slaves were led out of Egypt by a priest prince from the inner courtyard of Pharaoh. The Hyksos used the term Pharaoh, so everything was nice with the Egyptians. The Hyksos were a Canaanite people. Now, I don't know how many groups were over there being called Canaanite. Akhmos became Pharaoh after he kicked them out in about 1550 BC. Akhmos in Hebrew means brother of Moses. So no one wants to talk about that because it brings up the fact that the Israelis were there. The Hebrews were there. So were the Hyksos. But no one, not even the Jewish people, have been mentioning this, although this has been on several recent shows. So this is real. There's no way around it. Eisenhower met with 3 alien races, 1954. They warned it was coming. They offered to help and support. Eisenhower refused. Eisenhower met very quickly with these Nordic ones in early 55. Suddenly everything starts to click into gear. The Jesuits were put in charge of all alien affairs with each one of the popes. Pope Pius XII was the first one. The next pope, after Pope Pius, he met with them, but then he, let the Jesuits do. I don't want to deal with them anymore. Then, when we got past Pope John Paul II, we had Pope Benedict. Pope Benedict retires, first pope to retire in 600 years for God knows what. I've heard all kinds of rumors and this and that. But he goes on radio over in Germany and blasts the Jesuits for their alien agenda. Pope Francis, the excellent man he is a Jesuit. There's no way of denying that. St. Malachi said there would only be 112 popes from the 1100s when he had all these visions, and he detailed each and every pope. Pope Benedict, he said, would be from the Benedictine order. There's prophecy standing right there in front of him. And he picked the same stupid name. Pope 112 would be Pope Roman. And he would be in the Vatican when the seven-hilled city is utterly and completely destroyed. We're looking at a pole shift, or something of a pole shift. Everyone that lives near the coastlines will be in danger. That's why the United States government started pulling all of its emergency stuff away from each one of the coastlines back in 2012, had it done by 2013. A nice lady that was on Orion Radio called Just Call Me Kit was a Republican Tea Party type person. And she was constantly watching all the spending in Washington, D.C. And she said spending was going through the roof to have all this done in less than 1 year. They built 4 humongous food storage facilities in the middle of the United States. Frozen food, dry food. All the states are labeled between A, B, C, and D. So they've been working on this for quite some time. That's why they built all the FEMA camps in the United States. That's why they built or conditioned the CarMax railroad cars that normally are 3 decks, where you see cars as it goes down the tracks, and they have over every single part where the window would be huge metal plates welded on with just little tiny round holes, and they're only 2 decks, and they have shackles welded inside. Prison cars. They're CarMax railroad cars with shackles put inside. I have several photographs I found on the internet showing them exactly what they are.
I am at the image of 3/26, 2016, and it's the yellow background. There's the 2, circular bodies. I was wondering if you could describe that one to us, the telescope or the imagery itself, why there are these colors and where it was taken, etc.
Okay, I'm not sure whether this was taken with a telescope or whether it was photographed or what. The person that did these did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, did 9 different images, and they were all different colors, so they were being run through a filter. The big white thing, or black thing, one of the images I know I sent you was 03-26-216F. It's where the sun has been, the image has been reversed, where the sun looks black. And here's this big red thing right in front of it. That big red thing is Wormwood, just as being seen over 326 in skies over Mexico. The images were showing that here's our sun, here's something very big that shouldn't be there, plus there's a smaller object just behind it, just to the left of the sun. And people have been doing this for a while, saying, Bob, here's the original image, and here I've filtered it or I've reversed the image, and it shows there's something there. It's not being faked, it's not being photoshopped, it's there. And I'm getting more and more and more of these things. Now, I know I sent you earlier today an image 03-24-2016A, where you have a ghostly-looking image of a roundish object with stripes. That was first seen in the skies over Antarctica in black and white on April 10th, 2015. Okay, you see all those neat colors in it?
Yeah.
It actually has stripes. Okay. Now here is the original. I'm going to send it to you right now, since I have power on my signal.
Perfect.
Okay, here's from 2015. Okay, going down to Antarctica, 411. And it should be right there on your screen. No, the signal says it wasn't sent, I think.
Not gonna.
There it
is.
goes.
Okay, it's going through right now. I'll zoom in on this bad
See,
boy.
that big base just to the right, that's the Newmeyer Station, Newmeyer 3 station down in Antarctica. They have been tracking this one thing in their skies for years. And for collaboration, you can enlarge the image, and all the data is at the very top of the image. Gives you the date, the time of the image, and the name. Okay, here's an enlargement of it.
I can see some stripes in that. It's like the zebra planet.
Almost, exactly. That wasn't seen in it was not seen clearly in our skies until April 10th. Okay? Black and white. And here's the enlargement right now. Okay? See all those nice stripes on it? Black and white.
Oh, yeah.
That is not our moon. And we cannot see Mars from standing on the ground looking up. You have to have a telescope. Or you can see it as a little tiny dot up in the sky. That thing was seen very clearly by a web camera, a government web camera from the Newmeyer station. Okay, now here...
Looks like it was last April of 2015 that one was taken.
Yes.
4/11/2015. Okay. So that's pretty recent.
A friend of mine caught the same thing in her skies in color on April 29th. And here's her name and everything. The same thing in color. You see the same stripes? Same stripe patterns, everything. That moon was caught over Colorado and several other states, and it's over South Africa.
Why does it look clear?
Then in the black and white one, it was very clear because the cameras they use down in the Newmeyer station are the government issue cameras, which have a nice image on them. The bluish one was taken with my friend's own camera. It was in the skies above her. Let me send you the other photograph where it's in the skies above her. She enlarged it just to have that one picture. April 29th. Okay, 4/29, 2/15, Nemesis, which is a bad name for it because it's not Nemesis.
Just hey, folks, it's just swamp gas. Seriously. That's all that it is. Don't worry about it.
This was caught several times in 2015, sorry. And people were seeing it over Colorado, over other parts. And they were all sending the photographs in to me. And I detailed them and I documented them and I have them. You know, and then that other thing, you've got that white thing. Why do we not have 60 Minutes talking about this? Why isn't ABC talking about it? Why isn't NBC talking about it? Why isn't Fox talking about it? People are seeing it. They're taking photographs of it. You know, it's just, I was told years ago from my friends down in South America that there's a massive disinformation program covering the United States and Canada. And they were getting really ticked off that these things were not being talked about in their countries. And when the countries were asking the United States, they weren't saying a thing. And it just irritated the holy heck out of a lot of people.
I'm going to go also now. Let's click in on the 326 2016F. This one is quite the anomaly here. This has got
hold on.
Looks like the red
what was that number
what
again?
you call wormwood at the approximate 8 o'clock position. Or I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, 326 2016F.
Yeah.
That's okay. That one is a reversed image. You see the sun as a black image You see another something to the left of the sun as a black image. So they're real. And then there's the red one. The red one is Wormwood. And if you were looking at any of the other images, let me send you one of these also right now. Hold on, so you can see one of the other things, and you'll know exactly what I'm saying here.
I find it so odd
we have it.
that you're talking to me on a landline, and it sounds like you're in the middle of nowhere with one bar and a cell phone. You know what I mean? It's very odd.
Exactly. Someone, in my opinion, was screwing with Skype. I know my communications have been monitored for years. I know my emails are being monitored. I've had things taken off my emails. I've had things taken off my Skype. I've had things changed where my wording was different. And you know, why did you say this? Well, here's the original email. This is exactly what was in it. And they like playing games like that. I don't know who they are, but it's well above my head. I've been on numerous radio shows. Dr. John Elias, down in Southern California. Skype was turned off several times during the radio show. I was on another lady's show. Skype went dead, so she wanted me to call in. I tried calling in. I couldn't get in because all the phone lines were blocked. So they give us your phone number. We'll call you. So I typed in my phone number. They tried calling me. She gets back to me and says my phone was non-existent. But I just called her. So my phone was real. It's the games, and on the one hand, I can see the games for a reason. They don't want anyone to know about this. That's why the Chinese built massive cities down in Africa, totally cities, power, water, everything, but no one lives there. Why is that? They're guarded very heavily. They're called the abandoned cities. I think they did the same thing up in the Gobi Desert, where no one's living there. The United States, well, we're the United States. We're right here. We have our FEMA camps. We have our emergency seed vaults. But we also bought millions and millions and millions of dollars of ammunition and guns. Every agency, from the post office on down, that should never even be worrying about guns and ammunition, bought up massive amounts of guns and ammunition up until at least 2013 and quietly afterwards. Why do they need all that stuff, my friend?
Swamp gas.
Why do they need it? Exactly. Okay? Exactly. See, the Georgia Guidestones, 1979. A lot of your listeners know about this very well. They were all built over in Georgia, this one specific spot. Basic 10 commandments in almost every language from the planet Earth. The basic 10 commandments. It said at the bottom, never let the population go again above 500 million. That's like a 95% of the population. What did Pope John Paul II say in 1980? That the water would cover the continents, killing millions within minutes. Why did they build all these deep underground military bases for? They were outed in the movie Deep Impact with Morgan Freeman being a black U.S. president. They could only hold about 2,000 people for about 6 months. Everyone else was on their own. Project Camelot was started because a high engineer turned politician and outed all of the deep underground military bases, the DUMS, up in Norway. They were all for the elite. Everyone else was going to die. No ifs, ands, or buts. We've been hiding M1 Abrams battle tanks up in Norway's caves for the last 3 years. Why M1 Abrams battle tanks? Why are we hiding them up in Norway? A new friend I got into it, I think it was last week, maybe the week before. He had an article of all these Humvees, the nice military Humvees, and he had an article he pasted on his Facebook page. And the article had a leaked photograph, or maybe it was a real photograph, that he got directly from them. And they were talking about these row upon row upon row of U.S. military Humvee cars, 2- and 4-door, with the machine gun nest on top, and they're all being hidden in Norway's caves. So that backs up the M1 Abrams, which have been hidden up there for quite some time. So I have two old articles showing these tanks going off roll-on ships up in Norway. So they've been preparing for this for a long time. Earlier this year, there was a military exercise, mostly down there in the south or on the east. They were using that to pre-position military equipment. Because if anything happens like it did during the Exodus, with massive amounts of meteorite-type stuff coming down, they'll take out the satellites. There will not be any GPS at all. So
let's go camping.
We've been prepared. Yeah, and all the huge caves everyone knew about over the years, they've all been sealed up with bars where you can't go into some of these caves. I'm quite sure a lot of your listeners know about that as well.
Oh yeah, like there's some out there by Mount Hood like that.
Yeah, that's why they built all this stuff. That's why they kept it really quiet. That's why I have been telling everyone that goes to my Facebook page, you better start preparing. I'm told to tell everyone as if you're going on a 6-month backpacking trip. Essentials only. I've been saving pages, I've been sharing pages on my Facebook page every couple of days. Backpacks. See, the Hopi said very clearly during the end of the third Hopi world, which was Noah's flood, that the Earth's rotation was reversed. Physically reversed by the gravitational electromagnetic pull of this red thing in the sky. Everything is going to have a big reset button on it. Bridges, roadways. You probably only be able to drive so far, so high, until all the earthquakes really hit. Then, if you're still in good shape, you're going to have to hoof it. You're going to have to walk. Because the ground will be heaving and shaking. They'll be doing that like you've never seen any movie to show it like. You'll have to have everything in a backpack. Because cars can only go so far, even with 4-wheel drive. It will be a very bumpy ride. Everyone has to have all the emergency essentials. I'm not going to talk about certain essentials because when you mention certain things, you get red tagged and they come looking for you. Emergency food, dried foods, emergency water, water filters. They're going to have water filters because when they come to a stream or something, it might not be drinkable. You better have those emergency water filters in your hands. You better have a tent or the knowledge of how to make a shelter in the outback. You better have anything that's solar powered so you can charge up your telephone. Telephone will probably be dead anyway. Everything's going to be down. Charge up your laptop or your iPad or your Kindle type things. So you better have a solar charger. I have a lot of lanterns which have solar discs on the very top, and they have a hand crank to charge them up. No batteries. Because Just like
Sounds like your
just like
cat's telling you not to
everyone
forget
saw.
about cat food.
I know. Everyone saw the looting and everything that happened during Katrina. People are going to be looting. They're going to be robbing. And if it's as drastic as I think it is, they're going to be stealing anything, any food you have, so they can survive. And that's the basic thing. That's why the government has not been talking about this, because they know what will happen. There have been numerous prophecies after this happens, what they think or thought would happen. Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet, he was one of the first people to mention the term pole shift. Before he died in 1945, he started talking about an upcoming pole shift. Edgar Casey, not some screwball on a radio show saying things might happen. Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet.
Conspiracy theorist.
Conspiracy theories, yes. He actually had a map of the United States made up, showing what the United States would look like after this thing would happen. The entire West Coast was gone, except for major islands. Tahoe is an island, major island. And there's islands going all the way to Canada. The ocean went in as far as the Four Corners region around Arizona. The new West Coast shoreline was in Denver. I wonder why they built that huge thing under the Denver airport, which is fully activated now. The dome underneath the Denver airport is fully activated. I got that from a military friend. They also built 3 15-story buildings underneath another mountain. They go down 2,000 feet into the ground underneath the mountain, and they're fully activated now. And God knows what else is activated. They know we're starting to see these things in our skies. The Great Lakes ripped right through the United States, went all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, cutting the United States in half. Any one of your listeners who's ever looked at those maps, they see it very clearly. Every high-ranking military official about 25, 30 years ago was given a briefing. They were told to move their house above 4,000 feet. They were told that when they get the signal, you better have everything ready within 3 days to be bugged out. They were given a map, and they were told, don't show it to anyone. It has been leaked so many times, left and right. The retired soldiers. It's only just recently been starting to talk about this. All the retired soldiers that had all this military skills and stuff, they were going around and they were taking their guns. Retired military. I wonder why is that? Are they expecting all these retired military to go haywire? Or are they expecting the average citizen to group up with these retired military of different ranks and whatever? They know how to live out in the field. You don't. I don't. I have an idea. So almost everyone's going to be grouping up survivors. Sorry, no way around that. Whatever happens, there'll be survivors. There's been survivors every single time. But the ETs, the aliens, they want the advanced human race to go up to the next level. That's why they have intervened this time. All those nice spaceships you see on my webpage, all the nice things, they were seen thousands of years ago by the Zoroastrian religion over in what's now Iran. They carved huge wall carvings showing this big thing with an Anunnaki standing right in front of it. And that thing's an exact duplicate of what NASA caught was the Solo EIT-304 camera, an extreme ultraviolet camera, a camera that we spent billions on. We paid for it. And it can take photographs of these things every time, all the way up until now. These things have their own warp drive unit. They come out of light speed, or whatever you want to call it. It's been caught by so many times. These things have been firing huge beams and taking out something. And the camera's been catching every single time. But they're not real, are they? And these things are the size. And these things are the size of our planet. That's how big they are. They're like aircraft carriers. I spoke before UFOCon 2013. And I showed all these images up on a big screen down here in San Jose, California. Lorian Fenton is one of my managers, and so is Ivy West over in Hawaii. And a lot of the people that were there, they pulled me aside later and said, "Bob, do you realize how big that thing is?" Because it was clearly coming down the left-hand side of the sun. It had a big trail of dry plasma, for lack of a better word, behind it. It was enormous. And each time these things are caught, suddenly you don't see it anymore. Either they were erased or they turn on a cloaking device. So people on the ground can't see them. And just like an aircraft carrier, they send down their smaller ships to do this or that. In one day in time, August 23rd, 2013, I went through the entire film show from Soho. And there were 10 of these things coming into our solar system or going out of our solar system. Why are they coming here? Are they coming here for Chinese food, Indian food, barbecue food? Are they buying our guns and ammunition? I mean,
it's the women, Bob.
Traversing.
Bob, I got to jump in here.
Geez.
You've seen that, haven't you? That movie, Earth Women Are Easy. I could tell.
Or Mars wants our women. Yes.
So I've got to say, I really would like to get you on the show here again in a couple weeks if I can. We're going to have to close tonight's episode out here, Bob. But man, every time you come to the Leak Project, you just bring another gourmet buffet of information and pictures to the table. So thank you for coming out.
I am the only one of the researchers that are showing this to all of the public. All of the public. None of the other researchers are even looking at my photographs.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this edition of Leak Project. I'm your host, Rex Bear, and tonight's guest is Robert H. Evans, Jr., the go-to guy on Planet X, a.k.a. Nibiru. Now, the cool thing about Robert is he spends countless hours researching the infamous winged destroyer and does it for free. If you'd like to see some of Bob's photos or send him pictures that you might have, his Facebook page is Robert H. Evans, Jr. Now, another really cool thing that Bob has going for him is his website. This has been around for several years, and it's starshipsaroundthesun.com. Starshipsaroundthesun.com. Now, there's all sorts of photographs on there from SOHO satellites, and you can see what looks like these just giant spaceships and anomalies around the sun and other parts of the solar system. So, and Bob, I got to tell you, man, the first show that we did together several months ago, that is actually, if you type in Nibiru on Google, that comes up on the top of the second page in the natural selection there. I mean, it's already hit over 200,000 views, and you've certainly made an impact. Yeah, absolutely. Reached out, networked all over the world. I mean, you've got people that are sending you photographs from Germany, from Mexico,
Slovakia, Russia.
The first one that I wanted to show our audience here is one that you sent me from 3/4/2016, so just earlier this month, and it's got the two red dots, red heavenly bodies here, it looks like, to the north or northeast of the sun. So could you describe this for us and tell us where you got it?
Okay. I got it from a friend from I believe it's she. She said West Germany, which doesn't exist anymore. It's just Germany. The image you're looking at shows our moon. It's at nighttime. It shows our moon just above the horizon. horizon, and there's a big red thing up in the sky above it. That big red thing is either a planet or a moon that orbits around the planet Nibiru. Nibiru orbits through our solar system between Jupiter and Mars. It's almost the size of Jupiter, if not larger than Jupiter. It has, I'm told, up to 11 moons orbiting it at different intervals. And 4 of these planets or moons have been seen in our skies since April 10th of 2015. This red one goes down through history being called in the Holy Bible as Wormwood. The ancient Egyptians knew it as the destroyer, and they described it very detailed during the Exodus, which was actually 1613 BC. Nailed it down. They found a olive tree at the base level of the ash fallout on the island of Santorini. They had it carbon-14 dated to 1613 BC. The Egyptian scribe named Ipuwer, his detailed account from the Egyptian point of view of the exodus of the Hebrews mentions volcanic ash falling all around Egypt, and also mentions a tremendous explosion in the air. That's the island, the ancient Greek island of Thera, which was erupting and then exploded. We now know it as Santorini. So the Hopi people here in the United States, they call this red thing the red kachina. They said a blue kachina would show up first, and the red kachina would follow. I have caught multiple photographs from people sending them in of the blue kachina early on in 2015. Now my contacts say they have not spoken to the Star Brothers yet, because supposedly, according to the Hopi prophecy, the Star Brothers will come down and they will dance in the plaza for everyone to see, not just the Hopi, for everyone. And they will take off their mask, showing everyone who and what they are. That sounds like first contact to me.
Sounds like they live to me. Rowdy Piper puts on his sunglasses and he's like, oh my gosh, look, there they are.
Well, okay, a lot of the traditional drawings from the Hopi showing the kachinas in front of them. The Hopi were all sitting down and the kachinas were standing in their midst. The kachinas must have been looking like they were 8-9 feet tall compared to a basic human. And they had masks on where they could not see what they looked like. And the masks would, almost like a roundish looking mask, they put over their head, and they had a costume which covered their entire body. So the Hopi would never have known what the Star Brothers looked like if they showed themselves as that. A person with a huge mask on and robes and stuff. So the prophecy of the blue star Kachina clearly says once it shows up, the Star Brothers will come down and they will dance in the plaza for everyone to see. Hopi and white people.
So right now you're talking on a landline, is that correct?
Yes.
This is very odd.
The Skype has been acting up when I get on it, whether it's weather, whether it's my computer, whether it's my microphone, or the powers that be. I never know. I've had Skype problems when I've been on radio shows many times over the years.
Well, it's just interesting right now because you're talking to me on a landline, and it sounds to me like you're talking to me from another computer. I mean, that's why we're not doing this Skype on both ends, because we were having issues, and you said you were just right underneath a cell phone tower or a Wi-Fi tower.
Wi-Fi tower. Exactly. These things, the powers that be, the world government, they know this thing is showing up more and more around the planet. It's been seen in Japan. It's been seen in China, up in Russia, over in Slovakia, over in Switzerland, over Italy, over Germany. But you're not hearing a single thing about it on any of the news broadcasts.
So the second picture you sent, 3/4/2016, the one that looks like it's two suns.
The second one, again, clearly shows the moon as a bright thing next to the Earth and the red thing up in the sky. I do not know, honestly, whether it's a planet or whether it's a moon. But we're seeing them because the Earth is orbiting right towards them. The planet Nibiru orbits clockwise through our system. It comes in by Jupiter and Mars, goes under the sun, comes back up, and goes back out between Jupiter and Mars. The planet Earth orbits counterclockwise. So in our orbit around our sun, we're orbiting right towards these things. I do not know their orbital diameters. I do not know how big they are. I have no way of knowing. Only the powers that be know the size of these things, except for what's being shown in the skies. During the Exodus, 1613 BC, the destroyer from the horizon upwards took up to 1/5 of the skies over the Earth. I sent you, and we talked about during one of the last shows, about this huge reddish-looking thing on the sky, on the horizon over Florence, Italy, January 8th.
Uh-huh.
And when my friend had the image reversed from white to everything that was white became black, this humongous thing was seen on the horizon in the image. If everyone could see that humongous thing, like a huge red sun, there would have been mass panic. No ifs, ands, or buts. A friend of mine, her name is Dawn Hull. She lives up in Washington State. She has a very expensive infrared camera, and she takes photographs every day. And she sees huge red things in the skies, looking through all the clouds of whether it's natural, whether it's chemtrails, who knows anymore.
Ask her if she'd send those out for us.
I have copies of those, and I'll make sure I send to you, and I'll even give you her name and stuff. So she is seeing massive red things. See, on infrared, anything that's hot shows up as red. And her images show massive red things in her skies. So I don't want to scare anyone. All of your listeners, a great number of them are on Facebook, and they've all listened to this stuff, and it's just